Hey, what's up and hello? This is the Chris Nicole bringing you my views on life, love, and the world of entertainment through my eyes. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what time you are watching this live. Hello, crew. Hope all is well. This will be my review, my recap, my opinion on Tyler Perry's The 688. Okay, it just came out, I believe, December 20th on Netflix. So, with that being said, if I had to rate this movie, my honest opinion, I would rate it a B, as in boy, because it's Tyler Perry. If it was any other filmmaker that I admire, respect, I would give it a C. And I'll explain why. But because we have dealt with so much WTF from Tyler Perry, I give this a B for him. But again, I am still curious as to why he could do something like this, but can't create decency and at least average or above average for all of his other films. Some may say because it is based on a true story, but true story has nothing to do with being able to tell an effective story and have a good plot. One thing for sure, he definitely made sure that he put the budget in this movie. And I think that's also because who was attached to this movie. You cannot come half-ass with Kerry Washington. You just can't. Her name for the past 10 years, nothing to play with. And not to mention, I noticed in the credits, she is an executive producer, if I'm not mistaken, of this movie. You had Debbie Allen, who was the choreographer. You had Oprah Winfrey, which she is always going to make sure she is in some true story or some oppressive film. I don't care what it is, but she always going to take us back to the early 1900s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. She is always going to play that character. I think because of who was in this film and who attached themselves to this film, they probably also had a hand in it also, making sure this film did not fail. So yeah, and he also had Kim Coleman, which is a big time casting director, who has definitely casted a lot of the known films that we know of. So yeah, I definitely feel like he made sure that this budget was top notch. Okay. So with that being said, it did say it was written and directed by Tyler Perry also. Okay. But I'm going to move on. So, with that, as you guys should know already so far, that this film is based on a true story. Okay. The only Black women who were actually troops in Europe at the time. So, this is based off of a true story. I believe they even had documentaries on them, but Tyler Perry brought it to life. As far as the Netflix movie is concerned, I appreciate the history of it, and I think a lot of people also appreciate the history of it. However, there was still some points where I was just like, okay, Tyler. And look, do I think Tyler Perry wrote the film? I mean, he got the credit for it. Now, let's be clear, there are definitely known ghost writers out there where they get paid under the table to write, okay? And someone else takes credit for it. So, and I have shown you guys before that there have been rumors for years about Tyler Perry allegedly taking other people's work. So, but he has his name on it. With that being said, there are just certain things that just did not add up to me. And it starts off with, of course, a war scene. We are back at World War II, and you see this guy who is a soldier. And of course, they're in combat. And then all of a sudden, while he's in combat, all of a sudden the plane goes down. Okay. And so when a plane goes down, he pulls the soldier out of the plane, checks his pulse to see if he's still alive. He sees that he's not alive. He like seems to be in deep sorrow. He seems to be crying, and randomly he discovers or knows exactly that there is a letter or a note that's there under all of the stuff that the soldier who the pilot had on. I'm sorry, the pilot had on. He knows that there is this random note there. I'm sorry, that just seemed very random to me that he sees this letter and is covered in red sauce. All right. Covered in red sauce. And so at first I was like, what the hell is this all about? So then what we see after that is that we see, of course, the sign, the actual logo of the title of the movie, the 6888. And the soldier comes back crying because he has that letter and places it in a backpack or whatever the case may be, or a sack. And then we see all of a sudden this white guy who's cleaned up nice, and he's picking up a sister from high school. And it is very clear that this is, of course, taboo. It's inappropriate back then. And this one white woman pretty much tells him that he's pretty much being inappropriate to even think about looking at this black woman. And he pretty much tells that white woman, mind your business, kiss my ass. And he ends up making sure that he takes the love of his life and drives her home. So I'm thinking initially, this guy has to be the guy who was the soldier who took that letter out of the pilot's body when he was laying there unalived. That's what I'm assuming. And somehow we're going to get back to this soldier randomly knowing where this letter was. Like, it just seemed to me just out of nowhere. And I was just like, we're going to find out who this guy is who pulled this letter. But we don't end up finding that out, of course. That's one of the holes that we have in the story. But with that, this guy is going to war, and this is Lena, the main character, and he tells Lena, I am going to war to fight this war, but I want for you to wait for me, and when I come home, we're going to get married. Okay? As much as she made it seem like she wasn't in love with him, they were both in love with each other. And next thing you know, he ends up going to war. She never hears from him. He claimed he was going to write her. She never hears from him. The next time she hears anything about him is that she finds out that he was unalived in battle. Okay. Completely heartbroken, of course. And once she realizes that, she decides, instead of going to college, because one thing her family kept talking about is that she got into the university and she was going to go to college. The problem is the money wasn't there for her to go to college. And so with that, once she found out the love of her life was gone, she tells her family that she is going to join the army and fight. Okay. And so that's where we are when it comes to her purpose. Her purpose is to go over there. I don't think it was necessarily for her to fight, but it was more so to find out what happened to him, to see if possibly she can get some more information when it comes to this, what happened, because she never heard from him. So she wants answers, of course. So with that being said, Next thing you know, we see them getting on the train. Now, what this movie reminded me of was, I don't want to say it was exactly like this, but to me, you could definitely tell that Tyler Perry pulled from scenes of Tuskegee Airmen. I never watched Red Tails, but my guess he also got influence from that. But this is definitely giving vibes of Tuskegee Airmen. Tuskegee Airmen, in my opinion, though, did a way more phenomenal job and pulled at my heartstrings way more than this one did, which kind of pisses me off because I'm dealing with my own sisters in this one. So usually I am more emotionally involved when it comes to, you know what I'm saying, fellow sisters. But Tuskegee Airmen with Lawrence Fishburne, Cuba Gooding Jr., Michael Jamal Warner, Alan Payne, phenomenal. But we see them get on the train, and immediately we have one of the biggest stereotypes that I am sick and tired of in every movie. And I feel like that when we are dealing with now Black filmmakers, we need to get out of that mindset of constantly typecasting people. Okay. And one thing that we see is the more darker skin, bigger woman who's sassy, loudmouth, ratchet with her mouth, and just, don't give a shit all over the place and just don't care. I'm tired of that stereotype. You couldn't have the fair skinned one be that way. Like, if you're gonna have one that's gonna be the comical one, let's let it stop being the darker skinned woman, the chocolate woman, the bigger woman. And not only was she the one who was kind of just sassy with her mouth and she was ready to fight. All my life I had to fight. This was the Miss Sophia of this freaking movie. And again, if you're going to have it, fine, but let it be completely opposite of what we're typecast or constantly see all the time. And then on top of that, she was the singer too. In this movie, she's singing her ass off. I said, well, you just gonna hit her with every stereotype, ain't you, Tyler? Ain't you? Okay. Big, chocolate, loudmouth, and a singer. Great. Okay. But with that being said, we see immediately in this train, we see the whites only versus the blacks only BS. Okay. And so with that, what do I mean by that? Once they get to Georgia, they end up telling this white soldier, ends up telling all of the white women to leave that cabin and the black women stay there. And then of course the biracial girl, who I think they said was Mexican or black or whatever, he didn't know what she was, and she was like, well, if you just picking the white women, I'm not white, so yeah, you can go on. And so we instantly see this. All right, of course we're going to see this throughout the movie. That's just what we're dealing with. But with that, here's my issue. Y'all notice we never saw those white women soldiers again? Did you notice that? We never saw them again. We see them leave that train, or at least leave the cabin of that train. We never see them again. Now, we see white men soldiers, but we never see the white women soldiers. I would have loved to see the contrast between how the white women were treated as soldiers versus the black women. Hell, I would have loved to see a match between a white woman soldier versus Kerry Washington's character. Something showing the difference and something showing, between how the women were treated. Just like we saw in Tuskegee Airmen, we clearly saw how the black pilots were treated versus the white pilots. Well, we needed to see in this one how the white women soldiers were treated versus the black women soldiers. The only time we saw a group of them was on the train, from what I remember. And if I am missing something, by all means, please let me know. But that was another missed opportunity here that you needed to show us, not tell us, but really show us the difference on how they were treated. And we never saw them again. Okay. So with that, though, we see them going through the process of, getting their shots and, their birth certificates, and how at that point we also see that they're pretty much getting trained like the men out there. Okay. Like they're ready for battle. Okay. We see them literally getting trained like, yeah, they ready for it. They ready for the steel in their hand. They ready to go to war. And then of course the head black woman in charge, or also the head Negro in charge, is Kerry Washington's character. All right. Which is based on Charity Adams. That is actually the lady who was the head of this group. So we see her, and she's ready. She's training her women ready for battle to pretty much, yeah, you're going to go out there in the field just like everyone else. And so with that, we do see some black male soldiers, which I did appreciate. But at the same time, I would have liked to see more of, also, besides them being kind of like love interest or party interest, I would have liked to see how they would have really treated the black women soldiers too, because we're not going to pretend like you also have an issue with a patriarchal society where probably some of the black male soldiers would have looked at the black women as a joke also. So again, to me, another missed opportunity versus just having these black men as possible love interests and them doing the Watusi or whatever the hell they were doing during the party scene. But again, these are just certain things that I felt like I needed to see. So we see a woman, where the main part of this movie is that we see a woman that is at the White House, and she is trying to speak to the first lady. And we see that she's out there for days, even to the point where she's out there in the rain. And so finally, the first lady goes out there, and she finds out from that lady that she hasn't spoken to the men in her family who are out in, at the war. She hasn't spoken to them in years, and she writes and hasn't heard back. And that's when the first lady said, well, that's unacceptable. Like, why aren't they, getting the mail, or why aren't they writing you back? And so at that point, they have a discussion at the White House, and Mary McLeod Bethune comes in because she's really tight with the first lady. And of course, who is Mary Bethune? Oprah Winfrey. And they're trying to figure out why the soldiers are not getting their mail or responding back to their families. And so at that point, they claim that they've tried to do it, is they've been unsuccessful. And so they said, I guess the women, I believe they said the white women soldiers have tried and they're unsuccessful. And so that's when Mary Bethune says, well, why don't you try? You have the Negro women soldiers who are out there. Why don't you try with them? And he kind of blows it off. One of the colonels blows it off like, well, if the white soldiers can't do it, if the white women can't do it, then the black ones can't do it. My thing is this: stop telling us and show us. Could we not see these white women soldiers trying to do the mail and it was an epic fail, versus you telling us? That was a missed opportunity again. So with that, Mary says, no, they can absolutely do it. So at this point, what we know is that they're going to have them handle the mail. And we see a theater scene that was very triggering, of course, because, of course, it's these white males who are telling them that they need to actually leave the theater. And, Kerry Washington's character, Charity, was like, baby, I got higher ranks than you, and you will sit up there and respect me. And the guy, of course, blew her the hell off and was like, I ain't about to salute you. I ain't about to do nothing. Kiss my ass. And so when she goes to complain, she all of a sudden gets the letter saying, you guys are going to Europe. Take care. And she's thinking, oh, we're finally going to be able to battle. But in reality, they are purposely going over there to handle the male situation. Mind you, these are college educated women. have degrees on top of degrees, and they're helping with the damn mail. All right, helping with the damn mail. So that kind of pissed me off. But again, this is something that we still fight to this day. All the education in the world, all the intelligence in the world, but still undermined in all sorts of ways. So at that point, we see that the main character, Lena, who lost the love of her life, this is going to lead back to that damn letter that had the red sauce on it. Now, again, what we find out is that the pilot who passed was the love of her life. Now, again, I still don't understand why that random soldier had that moment of feeling sad like that, like he knew him of some sort. I don't remember when I watched the movie if we saw him and that guy talk. Did they even talk about this letter? Like, it just seemed so damn random, and it was forced in there just for the sake of trying to bring the story together. But we know, of course, that at this point, that's what that letter represents. So my thing is this. We hear from the lady who was at the White House that she hasn't heard back in years. Now, based on my research, quick research, World War II lasted for 6 years. Think from 39 to 45, okay? I would like to have known by the time these women got over there, how long was the war? I would have liked to know how long the war had been, and had it been a situation where since the war started, no one has ever received mail. Now, we find out later on just by the actual real, like the real people, they're reading off, like literally Lena before she passed, she's reading on a piece of paper what to say. I don't know why they did it that way, but what we find out is after, not in the movie. Think sometimes they told us stuff in the movie, but in at the end we find out it was 17 million pieces of mail. 17 million. Okay? And they only had 6 months to do it, but they did it in 90 days. We didn't find that out during the movie, where that's when you're really supposed to get the emotions of it. We didn't find that out during the movie. We found that out when they actually told us at the end, where we literally had the actual real people, Lena telling us the actual story. And I don't like that, because my whole thing is we should be able to know that information by watching the movie, because that would have pulled on my heartstrings even more. And that would have, now first things first, I already know, because me being a Black woman myself, we make the impossible possible. But to really be able to display that in a scripted way, how much they had to go through and how they only had 6 months and did it in 90 days, that in a very dramatic way of actually filming it would have been phenomenal. But I don't remember them really stressing that in the movie. We found that out at the end. Didn't like that. Didn't like that at all. Like, I feel like the right person would have made sure that that was felt in that moment. You know what I mean? For example, we do have a scene where we have 2 of the female soldiers, we lose them. Okay. And again, I hope you guys have watched it. I'm going to say spoiler alert, and I'll put it in the title, spoiler alert. We lose 2 of the Black female soldiers. Okay. And because they ended up driving over something that was going to go tick, tick, boom, boom. All right. And so 2 or 3 of the women in the back with the male end up getting out. But the 2 in the front who were driving, they try to get out. They don't make it, and they're unalive. And we find out in the process of that that they have to use their own money to try to give a proper burial to those two fallen soldiers, because apparently the army has decided that they're not going to give them a proper burial. All right. What would have been definitely something that would have given more emotions. And again, emotions, whether it's anger, sadness, or whatever the case may be, that's what movies and things are supposed to do. They're supposed to take you up and down a roller coaster. Would have been more powerful is if through that happening, somebody racist, whether it been a white female, a white male, whatever the case may be, would have been more concerned about that male being burnt up versus the two human beings. They were more concerned about what was lost in there and how now those soldiers can't get their mail or the family can't get their mail. That would have been a scene to show how much they disregarded us as human beings. But again, another missed opportunity, which is why I say, don't get me wrong, for Tyler Perry, with all of the shit that we've seen from him, I give it a B because it's him. But if I'm looking at it as people who truly know the art of filmmaking and they execute consistently all the time, this would be a C for me, because they would know that they would need to bring all of that stuff together. Okay. So it was things like that, that if it really was executed better from someone who really knows how to master the art of storytelling, it would have been done in a more phenomenal way. Okay. What saved this was the phenomenal acting. You can't go wrong with Kerry Washington. And you can't go wrong with even these new faces that we saw. They were great. You know what I mean? So, and even with an average script, a phenomenal actor can take it to the next level, and they can really do amazing things with it. You know what I mean? So, and that's probably why Kerry Washington attached her name to this. There's no way in hell that Kerry Washington will attach her name to Mia Culpa or Divorce in the Black. She's just not going to do it. This is a woman who has had a successful career, Scandal. So she's not going to do it. So that's what really saved this actual movie. But, and then of course, when it came to these letters, how convenient that they ended up doing this. And Lena, the main character, is now really invested in this because she's wondering if there's any letters from the love of her life in these 17 million pieces of mail. Now, I don't know if that is actually a true story, that Lena actually did lose the love of her life in battle. Something tells me it's not, and they just kind of created that to kind of bring the story together and to, you know, tie it together. But she, of course, is tripping over the fact that, you know, people are just kind of tossing Mel aside. And she's like, these are human beings that lost their lives. Like, you got to treat them with respect and dignity. But eventually she ends up telling the girls that she went in with what happened to the love of her life. And so at that point, they kind of get it now, because at first they weren't understanding why she was just kind of having this emotional roller coaster. There's this guy named Hugh that's interested in her, and she's just kind of keeping her distance. They just didn't understand it, but she finally tells them. But she is, what I do love is that how this was an impossible task. Not just the fact that it was 17 million pieces of mail and there was no, of course, technology back then, but how they even explained how there was mold on some of these letters. They could not read, you know what I'm saying, a lot of the things that were on the letters. And how they created a system that was just virtually impossible, using, you know, scents of perfume. And I'm like, y'all could still smell the perfume on the damn letters. But they even had an example of how they would smell the perfume, and how like some of the soldiers would know the scent of the perfume, and then they would kind of investigate somehow about where they actually sold the perfume, what state they sold the perfume in. And because of that, we're able to pinpoint possibly where the family was, where the soldier was from. Phenomenal things they were able to do with the little resources that they had. Okay. On top of the fact that they said, they were cold and things like that. Now, telling us you're cold and showing gloves versus actually seeing them possibly like in the snow with blisters and things like that, still trying to work through the madness, that would have been better than just telling us, oh, we ain't got no heat, and then you see someone with gloves on. Again, the visual elements of it were missing for me. I want to feel it by seeing it, just not by you trying to take a check mark on the dialogue about what they're going through. I want to actually physically see them go through it. Missed opportunity. But with that being said, it was phenomenal what they were able to do. But of course, as being Negro women, it was just never good enough. And so what we see is eventually we have the main racist who is, ahead of, this. And of course, he felt like Negro women aren't smart enough and it's impossible for them to do. When he heard all the phenomenal things they were able to do with the little resources they had, or no resources they had, of course, when they ended up opening up the letters, he's like, what you say? What you say? You reading white soldiers' letters? That's a violation of their privacy. Oh, hell no. I'm turning down. This mission is over with. And by then, the president, Roosevelt, had passed. So Roosevelt was the one who pushed this. But of course, because he was gone at that point, they were trying to find any reason to shut down this mission. Now, I'm also curious as to why out of 17 million pieces of mail, those were only white soldiers. There were black soldiers in World War II. We know this. And pilots. So again, how is it that 17 million of those pieces were just white soldiers? Interesting enough. I mean, because we know there were plenty of black men, and now we know, of course, there were black women who were there. Hell, my granddaddy was there. So could black men not mail off and let their families know they were okay? But that kind of caught me off guard, because I was like, unless you're saying in Europe there was no black soldiers, which I highly doubt, why are you saying that's only white male? Like white only pies? Like, why are you saying it's only white people's mail? That kind of caught me off guard. But with that being said, he was trying to shut it down. And then at that point, that's when Kerry Washington had her eat my shit moment from The Help with her eat my shit pie. And she was like, over my unalive body, you ain't about to shut this down, because at the end of the day, we have done too much and we have to fight for too much. And the first thing we have to fight about is being Negro. And now you sit up there trying to take this from us? Absolutely not. And so for whatever reason, though, her making this long dialogue, as much as this man had all in his mouth, he just stopped all of a sudden and didn't say anything else and just walked away. I didn't think that was realistic, but he just walked away hearing that. Yeah. Hey, Shayla. Hello there. It was a good movie, but I just appreciate the agenda of it all. It all boils down to a white person saving the day, the lady in the rain. And that's another thing that I have an issue with too. And again, I doubt all of this is true events. It's just based off of true people. And let's also come into play that who Lena was in love with. She was in love with a white man. And I did not like in the beginning of the movie, for the most part, she was constantly visualizing him or hearing him talk to her when she was in combat, or well, not even combat, but when she was in training and stuff like that. and to me, I was just like, okay, a lot of people, probably won't like that savior complex, so to speak. But yeah, it was definitely and especially because we find out that the real Lena admits that she ended up marrying Hugh when they came back from the war. But to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was the real love story. Like, if they really would have shown that more, that she had to lose what she thought was the love of her life to find the true love of her life, and they really would have shown that even more, I would have loved that too. But we didn't see that. So yeah, so with that though, the guy who was trying to shut it down, he does try to shut it down, but then all of a sudden when he's on the phone trying to say that he's, about to shut it down and she's about to get marshaled or whatever the case may be, next thing you know, he hears soldiers screaming outside, and screaming outside because the soldiers are finally getting their mail. Okay. And because the soldiers are finally getting their mail, you have soldiers that come in and salute the 6888 ladies. And one of the ones who salute her is the guy who said he would never salute her. Okay. So nice little touch, of course, at the end. And I did like the fact that when she did stand up for her troops, her people, to that guy, what happened was she was nervous because she was like, oh, I'm about to get it. And I always tell my girls to never allow them to lose your cool. Don't lose your cool with them. And I lost my cool. And so what happened was the girls all of a sudden stopped working. They all stopped working. And Kerry Washington's character comes and she's like, get back to work. And they don't budge. And she stands up. She's like, get your asses back to work. And they all start clapping for her and she breaks down. And so I was like, okay, that's a nice touch, and it shows unity, something that we really need to get back to, but it shows unity. But again, I did not have those tingling feelings. Like, I didn't have moments of wanting to cry. And I'm really big, especially on true story, true events, historical events when it comes to our people, especially foundational Black Americans. I do have those moments because it really just shows how much we have sacrificed and how much we've gone through in this country to help benefit everyone, not just us, but everyone. So a lot of times when I see these stories, I do get emotional. I didn't get emotional. I did not get emotional. And that's a problem for me. Now, when I saw Tuskegee Airmen with Lauren Fishburne and, with them, and that was an HBO special, if I'm not mistaken, baby, I boo-hooed. I boo-hooed multiple times in that movie. I smiled, was angry, it laughed, cried multiple times, because truly those type of stories should take you through an emotional roller coaster. This didn't do that for me. But again, it may have done it for you. It just didn't do it for me. And I think, again, because, like I said, I have a low bar for Tyler Perry. So I have a low bar for Tyler Perry. And because I have a low bar for Tyler Perry, then, it's just like, okay, I'm going to give you a B because, honey, you done got Fs, below Fs from me for a very long time. But again, a classic filmmaker who knows the structure and things that really can take you to the next level, they would have got a C, maybe even a D plus, because there were certain parts that did not hit. And there definitely could have been more added to it. So, of course, when it comes to Lena's character, they end up finding that letter with the red sauce on it. And this is the scene here where, you know, the typecast character of it all ends up finding the letter, and, you know, she ends up reading it. There is a scene where they have a lot of the soldiers buried over there, and she ends up finding him, and the letter is being, like, the voiceover of the letter is being heard, or whatever the case may be. And, you know, I guess for her, that was her moment of being able to accept what is and be able to move on with Hugh. I guess that's supposed to be that moment when it comes to that situation. But with that being said, we see that they were able to be successful. The soldiers were happy. They were able to do their job. And then at the end, we see the real Lena before she passed. God rest her soul. She passed, I believe, this year. She is reading off of a letter. It's almost like they wrote this for her to read versus us hearing it from her, which was not organic to me. So I don't know if it's because of her age, they needed for her to just read off of it so it can be more clear. But there's a way to be able to still do that and make it look more authentic. They could have had her read off of that, and maybe we would just saw like a glimpse of just her talking, like we just saw her mouth talking, and then like they could have just shown a picture of her. But I didn't like the fact that she was reading off of that. This is your story, ma'am. This is your story. Why are you reading off of this paper? And that's when we find out how many millions of pieces of mail there was. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, if they mentioned that in the movie, I don't remember it. I just remember at the end where I was like, damn, 17 million pieces of mail. Damn. I remember them saying 6 months in the actual movie, but Lena randomly said 90 days. And I said, well, where the hell is 90 days coming from? Well, as the credits are rolling and we see pictures of the actual real 6888, they say 17 million pieces of mail. They only was given 6 months, but they finished it in 90 days, 3 months. Well, you know what I would have loved to see? I would have loved to see you show that in the movie versus just reading it off at the end. That's what I would have loved to see. Because then it really would have given me more of a triumph moment that, damn, this is what I'm talking about. This is my ancestors who made the impossible possible. But again, it would just be certain moments where they would just say it in dialogue, but I want to visually see it. That is the whole purpose of movies and TV, is to visually see the pain, visually see what they're going through, not just tell us in dialogue. You dealing with that type of mail, I want to see 50,000 paper cuts all over somebody's hands and showing that they have blisters on top of blisters. I want to see that literally somebody was literally sick to the point where they could barely stand up, but they were still sitting up there truffling through that mail, because I'm sure that happened plenty of times. Show it to us. Don't say it to us, because then you lose the authentic moment. For me. Yeah. So with that being said, that's my review, in my opinion, on this movie. Again, it's Tyler Perry. He said he wrote it. I guess we just got to take his word for it. Yeah, blisters, bunions, and while we heard the typical typecast lady take off her shoes and say that her feet was hurting, I want to physically see it. See, you needed to show us physically seeing. Can't even speak right now. I'm sorry, you guys. We should have been able to see the blisters and the bunions to the point where when we saw it on the screen, we was like, oh, damn. Those are the moments that we missed. That's the whole point. Let us visually see the pain. Let us visually see that stuff. Not somebody just say, "Ooh, child, my feet hurt." No, that's not enough. That's not enough. You know what I mean? That is not enough. Hey, Miss T, you missed it, but girl, replay game. I appreciate the replay game just as much as I appreciate people who are actually in the live. Make sure you hit the like button on the way in. But yeah, those moments were missed. So there was a lot of holes and a lot of things that he could not, even with a way more decent script than he has had in a very long time. He still wasn't able to bring it full circle. He wasn't able to bring it full circle. But I find it interesting that when he gets the known actors, and what I mean by known actors, I'm talking about actors who have true accolades in this business. For whatever reason, that's when he has the most polished script that he can have. Have you noticed that? A Family That Prays. You have Kathy Bates. You have Alfred Woodard. I believe that's the last name. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're known actresses in this business. You have a polished script for that. You have a polished script for this. But all the stuff in between is on some what the F? Hmm. It just don't add up to me. Exactly, Chris. It's a TP production. I should have known better when I seen the girl from Sisters. See, I don't even watch that, so I didn't know who's the girl from Sisters. What girl from Sisters was in this movie? Was it the Lena girl? Who was in Sisters that was in this movie? And I would have to say that she still probably did a way more phenomenal job than what she does on Sister. It starts with having at least a decent script. I don't care if you're Denzel Washington. If the script is absolutely horrible, there's nothing he's going to be able to do, even with his phenomenal acting skills, to be able to take it there. It starts with the script. So whoever the girl was from Sisters that was in this, I'm sure she did a way better job than what she could ever do on Sisters, because I'm hearing the writing on Sisters is garbage. The Lena girl, okay, I thought the Lena girl was good. I thought her acting was good. But again, she had a decent script in this. Apparently, Sisters is not that. Hell yeah, I miss John Singleton. I damn sure miss John Singleton. And see, this is what I'm talking about with, if you know how to write, you know how to write. Because let's look at John Singleton's catalog, shall we? Even his movies that weren't considered the best of the best movies still weren't horrible, garbage ass movies. First movie out, Boys in the Hood. His next movie, which I liked, but again, I remember when it first came out, people thought it was garbage because they felt like Janet Jackson wasn't a good actress. I enjoyed Poetic Justice. Some people didn't. But when you look at Poetic Justice, it still was a good, decent movie. Some people thought it was great, but I've never really heard someone just say Poetic Justice was complete garbage. But compared to Boys in the Hood, people felt like the bar dropped or whatever, because they also felt like Janet Jackson wasn't a great actress. Higher Learning, Rosewood, okay? Hustle and Flow. Then you get to the TV side, Snowfall. When you have the talent, you can at least put the basics out there and you're still going to have something good, is my whole point. I just don't understand how you can have these garbage ass movies that even Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 0%. Damn your fan base, because you're always going to have people who are going to watch Tyler Perry stuff, whether it is his fans that are writers for him or people who want to watch it to laugh. But he's always going to make the money. But on an artistry level, how can you have all of these movies where you're like, what the F is going on here? And then you have something that's decent like this, or that's good like The Family That Prays. How do you have something good or decent every 5 to 10 years? It doesn't make sense, because writing is writing and structure is structure. And you rarely saw John Singleton miss like that. Well, and to me, his version of miss was, again, movies that were still good. So this is what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? This is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. So, yeah. But again, he said he wrote it. That's what he says. So we go for his word, right? That's just what it is. But overall, for TP production, he got a B from me. And baby, that's great. That is phenomenal. I don't think I would have ever in my life given TP a B ever again. I think I gave A Family That Prays a B plus or even an A. I can't remember, but I did enjoy the Family That Prays. I did. I really did. And he does not half-ass for whatever reason with those movies when he has the Legends of the Legends in it. Absolutely. And isn't that what art's supposed to do? Isn't that what art's supposed to do? It's supposed to also give you the emotions and everything with it. Like his first three movies, literally, Boys in the Hood, Poetic Justice, Higher Learning, insane. And I want to say his fourth movie was Rosewood. Rosewood, from my understanding, did not do that great in the box office, but damn it, if that movie did not give you the emotions and the ups and downs and the tears and, you know what I'm saying, the anger of what Black people have gone through in this country, baby, I don't know what else would. Rosewood was powerful. It really was. Damn, I miss John Singleton, but thank God we still have his art here that we can always have until the end of time. Thank God. But I remember when Tyler Perry got so much backlash off of not only Divorcing the Black, but some other movies, and he kept saying, wait till my movie, The 6AAA come out. Wait till my movie, The 6AAA comes out. I remember he was saying that in some interview or when people was talking about it. I find it interesting that your response is wait until that comes out. When reality, that tells me that are you trying to say that you knew it was garbage? Like, to me, it's like for your comeback to be, of course he made that comment about, highbrow Negroes, but at the same time, the fact that he kept saying, wait till that comes out, that to me tells me, when you putting out garbage, and then when you have something good. And how do you know you have something good there versus what other stuff that you be putting out there? How do you know? And because to me, maybe again, he could have some ghostwriters, y'all. Now, if he did have a ghostwriter, the ghostwriter, in my opinion, again, I don't know what the script looked like, but some of the things that I'm talking about that easily could have been seen is really up to the director too. The director could have shown the visuals of what I'm talking about. So it really could have given us more emotional moments and food for thought moments. So that also was missed as far as the directing is concerned. Which honestly, I truly feel Tyler Perry has done enough in this industry where I think he would just be so phenomenal if he just steps the hell back and allow people to write and direct their own shit and he just puts the money behind it. I wish he would, but it seems like he's such a control freak and he wants to get the accolades and wants to be the star. He just wants it so badly. He wants it so badly. And I'm just like, you would be better off being one of these big time producers who allows someone else to step forward and do it. You'll probably get more awards that way, the awards that he really wants, because you're not going to be able to convince me while he was at the BET Awards talking about something while you asking for a seat at the table. I created my own table. Baby, you still be at the Oscars just like everybody else. You're not going to be able to convince me that that man does not want the accolades and respect from the Oscars and the Emmys. And he could probably get there faster if he would just let go. Just let go and let other people take control. But I think what's going to happen with this, he's actually going to get people giving him kudos and probably give him kudos because they haven't seen something like this from Tyler Perry. So they're going to be praising his ass, knowing dang on well, if this possibly came from any other known director, writer that we respect in this industry, they will probably say this is probably average, because they expect more from them, but they don't expect more from Tyler Perry. So they're going to say this is phenomenal. And then he's going to end up trying to say he's going to want to continue to do all of this shit on his own. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. It should not be that it's all about you. But hell, Cat Williams told us this. I mean, he told us this. And hopefully Cat Williams, I'm hoping that he is still in that same mindset as we saw him on Club Shay Shay and before. He's apparently building a studio. From my understanding, also Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, plans on building one. I know something happened in Louisiana where he may not go through with it, but he may be doing his own studio. We clearly know with 50 Cent, as much as you've heard certain things, I guess, about maybe actors not getting paid what they feel like they were worth. What we do know is that he has no problem allowing other people to write and create and direct. So hopefully with other competition coming in, 50 Cent, allowing other people to write, create, direct, Cat Williams doing the same thing, maybe that will give competition to Tyler, the competition that he needs to let go and allow other people to write and direct, because he damn sure has more resources than 50 Cent and Cat Williams. The man is a billionaire. If he let go, then he could really be able to take things to the next level. He really could, but he wants to be able to get the awards, the praise. Well, for a Tyler Perry production, you got some praise from me, I guess. Well, I don't like to say praise. There's only one I give praise to, but you get a B from me for Tyler Perry production. That's it. That's all. But yeah, no tears. Typical scenes that I'm used to, nothing different that evoked extra emotions. I would have seen, for example, when that guy came in saying he was inspecting the area and he was trying to push going into the showers. Now, that would have been interesting because we clearly know what Black women have gone through, especially from slavery, and even now, how we've been seen as objects. That would have been an interesting scene that he forced his way in there. And that probably would have evoked more emotions. Or it would have been a brawl between them at that point more so because she was trying to protect her girls. That would have been interesting, but we didn't get that. Um, yeah, you guys. I hope. I mean, I'm sure some people gonna be like, "Oh, damn it, Nicole, Chris, you such a hater. This was phenomenal." Look, damn it, it's my opinion. It's my opinion, and typically people come here to hear my opinion on it and my recap on it. Okay, damn it, I gave the man a B, but it's because it's TP. I gave him a B. He's never gotten a B for me since I've done reviews on his shit. He's never gotten one. So y'all should be happy, you Tyler Perry fans. You should be happy. He got a B. All right. Um, Phenomenal job from Kerry Washington, but I didn't expect anything less from her. And phenomenal job for the women that I didn't know in here either. I would say they did a pretty good job. I didn't like the typecasting. I did not like the sassy mammy role, so to speak. I did not like that. I'm over that. And if you are going to give that role to someone, stop the stereotypical, she has to be more darker skin, melanated, she has to be bigger, she has to be the Mahalia Jackson singing in the church to the bottom of her soul. Like, if you're gonna have a sassy one like that talking about Mary and whoever the other titty was, if you're gonna have somebody who's supposed to be the one who's giving jokes like that, give a complete opposite of what you wouldn't expect for someone to be so out and open like that. Let her be completely fair skinned, a size 2, model looks, everything that this European world loves, and have her be raunchy and sassy like that. That will give me a different look on it. Like, okay, because we not gonna keep pretending like it's only bigger women, darker women who act that way. Oh, please. And we not gonna pretend it's only black women who act like that. Oh, please. I mean, we watch a show called Love After Lockup. We seen it all. So yeah. And I hate that it be our own black filmmakers who do the typecasting. But child, I guess that's what makes the money, right? I guess. But anywho, you guys, we will continue this conversation in the comments section. What did you think about? Oh, okay, Rosewood is a classic. I don't care what nobody say. It was a classic, baby. And it gave all the emotions, the anger, the tears, all of that. Rosewood was so good. It was. And it didn't do that great in the box office because, again, if it had the whole, you know what I'm saying, like the typical in the hood stories that, you know, John Singleton did, I'm sure it would have got, but apparently it would have got better box office like the money and the profit and everything else. But I believe Rosewood still was like his least money maker. You see what I'm saying? Like his least money maker was Rosewood, but Rosewood was still phenomenal. Divorced in the Black, yeah, I mean, it got a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't think I've ever heard 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Keep paying the ghostwriters. You know, I have an issue with ghostwriters, but I mean, again, if they're willing to be a ghostwriter to be able to pay their bills, who am I to tell them, you know, what they should or should not do? But here's the problem with being a ghostwriter. No one will ever know you for your writing because you are allowing other people to take the credit for your talent. I just can't respect that. Again, but I'm not in their shoes. They got bills to pay. I get it. But I just can never respect, you know, it's like, how are you ever going to be able to get to the next level if you're willing to always write something and let someone else take your hard work? And what's so unfortunate is you got plenty of people who are like that in this business, or like that Tiffany Red girl said, you get credit, your name is on it, but the artist who didn't write a damn thing gets a certain percentage in writing credit when they didn't even write not one freaking word. They didn't do the and, the or the period, and they still get credit. I can't do I can't do that. I don't respect it. I feel like Give artists their just due. Give them, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's only because of them that people can make their type of money. And it's like the fact that you can't give complete credit to someone, or you're willing to pay someone just to put your name on it. I don't know if I can respect that. I don't know. I can't. So, but again, that has been going on since the beginning of time. People writing stuff. I guess at least I could respect a ghostwriter who actually is getting paid to be a ghostwriter versus someone who wrote something and then their stuff is just completely stolen and taken from them. And unfortunately, that type of ish happens as well. It's unfortunate, but that's the world we live in. And then people feel like the main thing to say is, oh, everybody steals. No, everybody doesn't steal. No, everyone does not steal. Okay. The only people who say that type of shit are people who lack creativity and they just want to take other people's stuff so they can make a profit off of it. Can't rock with that. But with that being said, you guys, let's continue the conversation. Let me know how you felt about this movie. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you on my next video. Toodles.